every week. What are you doing? Hi. Hi, welcome to FiberLoveDiary. I'm Trish if we haven't met, and if we have met, welcome back. It's Monday. We're having a beautiful day. I had to close my curtains and shift my desk a little bit because the sun was like streaming in, which I'm happy about. My allergies are crazy, but again, that means it's spring, so I can't even be mad about it. I'm taking my Zyrtec. We'll be fine. We're on the way to summer. Today we are going to do 2 more of our breed study examples. If you're new, and it seems like that's been happening every week, I got this breed study from Wool Gatherings on Etsy. Not sponsored, just I bought it for myself, and then when I unboxed it on my channel, people were like, hey, you're gonna spin that on the channel, right? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure. So that's number 1. Number 2, you can find a pin to the worksheet that I am using to keep notes on these breeds below, and I'm using the Fleece and Fiber source book as my primary resource, but if I can't find anything in there, my backup resource is the Spinner's Guide to Fleece. I will tell you which one I'm using when, and they're both linked below. They're both excellent books, kind of approach things in slightly different ways, which I kind of like because you get to learn totally different perspectives about the same fleeces. If I can't find anything in either, which was only the case once, I'll just go to the internet. Oh, also, if you're new, there's a play and you want to go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing, there's a playlist. So I guess I'll link the playlist below too, and all these videos go in it. So you can go 1 through, there'll actually be maybe as many as 20 when I get it all finished up project wise, but you can go through the whole series in the playlist. We're doing 2 breeds every Tuesday. We're up to Icelandic, wrong way, of course, and Jacob this week. And let's get started. We're gonna talk a little bit about what the Fleece and Fiber source book says about each breed, and then I spin them, and then we'll look at the finished yarn. Let's go. All right, Icelandic is first. Its origins are with the Vikings. I think, you know, we can all kind of surmise that, but just in case someone doesn't know. At the time this was written, it says this sheep provides 25% of the island nation's agricultural revenue. That's a lot. It says they're grown primarily for meat in Iceland. The breed is best known elsewhere for its fleece. It does have kind of a unique fleece, so that does make a lot of sense. Last week we talked about Herdwick sheep, which is a double-coated sheep, and Icelandic is another example of a double-coated sheep, and it is a very dramatic example, and that's true. I mean, they actually use the word dramatic in the Fleece and Fiber source book. So it's made up of 2 types of fiber. The outer one that's more hair-like is called tog, and the inner coat or undercoat that's more wool-like is called fell. Oh, interesting. And those 2 terms are applied to other species, types of fleeces, and other breeds. It says the coats can be spun together separately. If you buy commercially prepared Icelandic, it usually contains both. I'm pretty sure that this contains both. Separating them is very labor intensive. I have done it. Okay, so this is confession time, you guys. I have only spun Icelandic once before, and it was when I did a rare breed study quite a few years ago. And I think in that breed study we got 2 ounces raw. You washed it, you prepped it the way you wanted to, and you spun it. Many of the breeds I split and did like a woolen example and a worsted example, especially if they were known for being good for both, which makes sense, right? Because then I could do a side-by-side comparison. It's really labor intensive, and you don't really find commercially prepared Icelandic that does that very often, if at all. I have never spun it with both together. First time ever. It's very popular here, so I don't know. Okay, it does say to maximize the strength of the outer coat and the softness of the inner coat, separate the types and spin the fibers, the long fibers worsted, the short ones woolen. That is what I would do. Exactly what I would do if this was raw. Okay, so let's talk about Icelandic fleeces. It says 4 to 7 pounds, light and lanolin. That was my experience. The outer coat can be from 4 to 18 inches. 4 to 18, you know, somewhere in there. And the undercoat 2 to 4 inches. That is also my experience. I would say it was about 2 inches what I had. Natural colors, a full range including white, tan, brown, gray, black, and mixtures. I think a lot of us have seen all different colors of Icelandic. And then a lot of times you see Icelandic sweaters that are done only in natural colors of the fleeces. They're really cool. It says the whites will produce clear colors. In dyeing, over dyeing natural colors results in interesting shades. Okay, so this is interesting. It does say if you want to spin both coats together, carding is actually better. So I think I'm going to run these through just one time through a carder. I just feel better doing that. Even the tog in this is much finer than what I had before. So let's do a max staple length because it's going to be all over the board. But let's just do it anyways because we've been doing it. It's part of our format. I don't want to deviate. So this is a really pretty kind of silvery gray. I'm just going to grab it and pull. Okay. So we've got about an 8-inch staple here. Okay, almost forgot to show you the Icelandic sheep. So here are the Icelandic sheep. They're actually really cute sheep. So let's card it and we'll go spin it. And what I'm thinking is that I will card it to produce a woolen prep, and then I will see how the drafting goes, because if I try to draft short forward, it's going to have poofs in it, which I don't necessarily mind because of the differing staple lengths. I mean, I think that's pretty normal anyways. I think I'll be going with a woolen draft, but we'll see how it goes. Sometimes they surprise me when I get to the actual drafting part. Let's go. We're back. It's the same day. So here's the Icelandic. It is a really pretty silver color. Let me get up here. and it definitely wanted to be spun thicker. I did use a short woolen draw, which was what I thought, and that helped me stay more consistent. I'm very happy with it. It's beautiful. It's actually much nicer than the last Icelandic I had the opportunity to spin, but it has like no stretch, which I would expect, because even though the two coats are combined in here, kind of the, I don't know, the overpowering fiber is the long hair like fiber, and that really doesn't have any stretch at all. What happens is then that shorter, like squishier fiber, that shorter, finer, bouncier fiber just makes it puff up a little, but it can't add any stretch. I think that makes a lot of sense. I actually really enjoyed spinning it, and I think the yarn is nice, nicer than, like I said, the last Icelandic I've ever spun. However, for me, not next to skin. Again, everybody has different kind of levels of what makes them comfortable. So if I say not next to skin, that just means for me. You might have a different feeling about it. I also wrote on my notes paper that I really would prefer for them to be separated, but it's nice and it's pretty, and I think it would make a nice like over sweater. I liked it. I like spinning everything, you know I do. Now we're gonna go on to Jacob. It's no secret, I love Jacob. Love. And I was cracking up because last summer I bought a really bargain box of fleece, which I think had 2 or 3 fleeces in it. I can't even remember. And it wasn't skirted, but that's why you get the bargain. And so I skirted it and washed it on my channel. And then I actually, did I spin some of it? I must have spun some of it. Whatever. I have used a lot of Jacob fleece. There is a farm that is maybe an hour and a half from us, about maybe 2 hours from us, where I buy it pretty regularly. And I used to like message her every year for 1 or 2 yearling or lamb fleeces because I love them. But I was cracking up because on the video, I think the one where I washed it, and I may have carded some, there was a comment not too long ago from somebody who clearly, I mean, my opinion is that they're probably in business selling certain breeds of sheep, saying that Jacob is not wool and all this other kooky stuff. And I was like, whatever, dude. Basically mansplaining Jacob to me. It's a sheep. This is wool. I don't know why you would think it's not. It's weird. Merino is very ubiquitous, and there are a lot of people who don't understand that there are many, many, many outstanding breeds besides Merino. They're really cool. They're really interesting sheep. They've been around for, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of years. What does it say? Several centuries, hundreds at least. They're named for Jacob in Genesis in the Bible. There's a lot of color variation, and a lot of them are spotted, and it's really neat because a lot of them have a different quality of wool based on the color in their own fleece. So that's kind of an interesting thing. You don't see it a ton. So this is also cool about Jacob sheep. They can have 2, 4, or 6 horns. And one of the cool things is a lot of times you'll see a straight pair in either a curly pair or a pair that like kind of like leans down or points down. It's really neat. Oh, here we go. Here's a picture. So here is the Jacob picture in the Fleece and Fiber source book. Because a lot of times they blend a bunch of different fleeces, you'll get like shades of top all the way from white to black. And it says the British ones tend to have more browns than in North America. It says both contain quite a bit of Kemp. Now let's see, is there Kemp? I do not see any Kemp, but I mean, when we get spinning, we might find some. Oh, I lied, I do see a couple white pieces of Kemp in here. Jacob facts, let's talk about them. So they have a smaller fleece, 3 to 6 pounds. British Jacobs will overall have heavier fleeces than American Jacobs. They're bigger. Generally, of course, that's a generalization. 3 to 7 inches, usually in the 3 to 6 inch range, 25 to 35 microns, and even though this is already a wide range, some may be a bit finer and some even coarser. That is a reason why I usually ask for either lamb or yearlings, because they just tend to be finer, and then as they grow older and mature more, those fleeces do get a little bit coarser, but I've never had one that wasn't beautiful from this supplier. Natural colors, white, black, brown, black, and a color called lilac that is a soft gray. I've seen it. It says you could dye it, but the natural colors are something that a lot of people pick it for specifically, so then they don't dye it. For prep and spinning, it says since it varies a lot, prep methods also vary a lot. Makes sense. Shorter fibers carded, longer fibers take nicely to combing. I have seen a lot of people separate the colors and spin for a gradient or make one item that is like stranded knitting but out of the same fleece because they get all different colors from it. It's really interesting and sort of one of those things that you can't just do with every kind of fleece. So it's kind of it's not a unique to the breed thing, but it's generally more doable with a Jacob fleece. I'm ready to spin this. I really like to spin Jacob woolen. It is generally quite springy and has that nice feeling to it. I've only spun Jacob top once, and I combined it with some rainbow fiber to make roll legs, and it turned out really cool. But once you kind of like blend it with a bunch of other stuff, you end up with not so much top anymore. So I have not technically ever spun Jacob top. I'm gonna do that. I think I'm also gonna use a woolen draft, but again, we'll see how it goes. My draft has changed a few times as I got into the spinning with these. If I change it, I will make sure you guys know why I changed it and what I changed it to. Let's check a staple on the Jacob. Can you guys hear the birds singing? Spring is here. I'm gonna, again, just to check the staple length, I'm gonna grab kind of the end here. There is a little kemp in here, I can see it. Okay, this has a lot of variation in it. You can see that big poof in there, and I am not getting a whole, there we go. We got a whole staple. And I'm gonna say it's 5 inches. So that's a pretty long Jacob fleece. So let's go spin. The Jacob's a perennial favorite of mine. I did spin it from the top using long draw as my drafting technique. What I did for that, and it just helps me and it might help someone else, is if I'm going to try to spin long draw from top, I will like separate it into strips and then kind of just fluff it up a little bit by, if this is the long strip of top, I kind of just make sure nothing is compacted, because the thing about long draw is if anything is compacted or doesn't want to slip past the other fibers, you will end up with like big clumpy parts. So you just kind of have to loosen it a little to get it to spin long draw really nicely. It's amazing, and I would do this again in a hot second. Check this out. It is beautiful. It would make gorgeous sweater yarn. It makes me want to buy a whole bump of white so I can have every color in the universe, because you know I can dye it. Check this out as well. We've had a couple spins where one of the spins was more bouncy and elastic, and the other spin was more, like I said, more hair-like and just has no stretch to it. And I always use the same nitty knotty when I wind these little hanks. So check this out. Can you see that? They're together at the top. Okay, see? Right at the top, they are literally right the same height, but then, so that's how much more elasticity and bounce you get from the Jacob. And also, super squishy. So I think there is a bump of white Jacob in my future and potentially a bump of gray Jacob, because wouldn't that be fun to over dye just like every different color? You'd get all these deep dark colors. I love that idea. Okay, I'm gonna need more money. Ooh, I'm gonna need to win the lottery. So next we have Lincoln. This is white Lincoln. Lincoln is very often shades of gray also. And Manx Lofton. I don't know, I looked it up. Can't remember already. To me, it looks like we kind of have another head-to-head, super squishy, super hair-like long wool. And I don't know how long this is, but we will find out when we're getting ready to spin it. So these guys are next. A couple of you guys have asked me if I know what I'm doing at the end with this. I think I do. It's been sort of slowly coming together in my brain. I was thinking at the end I would take them all and just dye them in maybe 3 different colors and see how the different fibers take the colors, how they look next to each other and those kinds of things, and then use them to do a big linen stitch, not wall hanging, something that I want to frame. But I've been turning that over and over in my brain, like I do, for a while. And I had kind of a variation / one step further idea on what I'm gonna do with these when they're done, and I'm excited for it, but I don't want to tell you ahead. 2 reasons. It could change, and the other reason is I want it to be a surprise, but I will film it. So I hope you guys are still hanging in here. This is Breed Study 6. And there will be 15, so we are getting kind of close to the middle. But I'm having a great time and I'm learning a ton. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. Thanks, I love you, bye.